this question of mimetic wisdom, if we change perspective for a moment and come down to earth, to the space of the Agora, where Socrates would be engaging in dialogues, I think that this question of self-knowledge, gnosis euton, of getting to know oneself, what emerges from the Socratic dialogues is that this question of self-knowledge cannot be addressed in isolation from the perspective of an autonomous, solipsistic, and self-contained monadic subject. On the contrary, it emerges from encounters that would take place here on the Agora, and from the practice of dialogus, a dialogue not within the mind of the philosopher alone, but a dialogue with others, with figures with different technical competences who are not necessarily philosophers. Socrates didn't engage in dialogues with philosophers only, but that through questioning and through an engagement contribute to the process of getting to know oneself. One should not forget that figures like Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, but also Epicurus, the Stoics, Zeno, different masters, were not simply philosophers in the contemporary sense. They developed a rational system, but they were also living examples of mode of life, something that the philologist and philosopher Pierre Hadot discusses, that the goal of philosophy was to change one's life. And so there too, the question of imitation was central, because the relationship between the master and the disciple was very often one of imitation. A type of imitation that was not simply a passive reproduction, but again, through practices, through techniques of care of the self, as Foucault would say, would contribute to sculpting and giving form to an identity. So not only a question of getting to know oneself, but also a question of forming oneself, and perhaps also transforming oneself. On this question of philosophy as a way of life, I would like to suggest that mimesis can also operate as a technique of the self, in a way that is at least double. On the one hand, mimesis can generate forms of pathological contagion that spreads from self to other, and that generate form of infections I designate as pathologies. And yet at the same time, the infected subject can take distance from this pathos and develop a diagnostic logos on mimetic pathos, developing what I call pathologies, this time understood as a diagnostic tool that allows the philosopher or the philosophical physician to propose cures and remedies for subject formation. In this specific sense, I think that mimesis and technique of the self are intimately related and need to occupy a central place in the new field of mimetic studies. So different logoi, different disciplines can be developed in order to propose therapeutic solutions and diagnostic solutions on the form of mimetic pathos that transform subjectivity in the 21st century. Thank you for your attention, and I hope these videos will be useful for your own formation, information, but also transformation.